I'm gonna be pretty quiet tonight. I had to stay up for 20 hours dealing with the United States healthcare system. I'm not gonna be right for a couple of days. I'm just realizing that no one would have heard anything from me before because my GoPro's still tripping. I just haven't bothered to get anything new yet. So it wasn't a branch, it was a piece of wood that was in there the other day. Huh. And there's always water flowing in there because I guess people's sprinkler systems. It does make me wonder where it's coming from. My 2 cents on the Luka Doncic trade. I can never say his name. Doncic. I don't really get a chance to watch the professional sports anymore. And here in a lot of assholes out here at 11 o'clock at night for some reason. Kind of wondering if like the loud assholes, the people who drive truck cars that are highly illegal, are coming out at night because they don't want to get caught. Is there some kind of shift change that happens at 11 o'clock? Is there a party? I mean, it's Monday night. What could possibly go on? Anyway. I don't really watch a lot of pro sports anymore. I haven't watched the NFL since 2008, when I finally got tired of watching the Cowboys. 2007, 2008. And I realized as long as Jerry Jones was at the helm, they were just never going to change, so I just gave up on watching them. The Mavericks, I watched them off and on. And then after Cuban sold it to the soulless Las Vegas couple, I said, you know, I think I'm pretty much done with NBA basketball. A lot of the times I don't watch sports leagues because I hate commercials. Because if I'm going to dedicate three hours of my life, the last thing I want to do is spend an hour watching commercials. Some back erosion control going on here. I watched the Texas Rangers win the World Series, and that was an utter fluke. It was an utter fluke because it happened the same way. I was listening to Galloway and Company the first time around in 2010, 2011, and he was saying that, you know, he says they're probably not going to make it past the playoffs. He said, but they might be fun to watch. And I said, Galloway's always has some. I said, let me go ahead and test that hypothesis. And I got treated to a magical year of baseball. And they had Elvis Andrus and Vladimir Guerrero and the Claw and the Antlers. It was a fun year to watch baseball. I listened on the radio. I watched it on TV. I think that was before they started shortening the games and streaming them. So whenever I had time, I'd always catch like the last innings of the games. The rivalry games with the Angels. That was always a trip. Watching it like his Angels in the same division, and it was just Mike Trout was going off on a tear, and they were in a race. It was fun watching those 2 years. And then when they won the World Series, I just started watching that because John Daniels got fired, and I said, okay, showing my support for the team after this, I'm going to start watching the games again. And I had no idea that these dang dudes were going to go into the World Series and win it. Another magical year. The rivalry between the Houston Astros. They hated the Houston Astros. Like the heel of of baseball. Those dang sign stealers. Those cheaters. Yeah, that's what you were hearing people say. I don't know if the Rangers are going to be competitive again. Everybody does the whole save your metrics thing, so it always takes a while to build up an interesting core. I kind of felt sorry for Corey Seager, but then I realized that anytime he could go somewhere else. Did he go back to the Dodgers? But he could. Man, I walk by this house, I always smell like fresh rosemary. Like somebody's got an herb garden. But yeah, what I think about the Luka Doncic trade. I wonder if it'll fire him up. And I doubt very seriously the Mavericks will ever be relevant again. Like I said before, it's getting kind of hard to watch sports teams. I even caught myself watching a few Stars games here and there. It was the same year they went to the Rangers went to the World Series. The daggum Stars, I think they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. Lost it in 5. So just a juggernaut of a team. Wasn't the Golden Knights, that was the year before. Who was it that steamrolled them? They just had no answer. They had bad goalkeeping. They had no answer for who they were playing against. Although I get the feeling that modern hockey has gotten to be like modern basketball. A lot of these sports leagues look like they just kind of made it easier to score. Because they wanted more casual fans and not the hardcore ones. So the NBA's got this whole 3-point era, long-range bombing. The NFL is pass happy. I do kind of like that they put the pitcher's clock on baseball. They make it a little bit faster, and I kind of thought that was neat what they did with the whole base stealing thing. I mean, as a result, you know, there's more base stealing. I hate how it might skew the stats, or how it will skew the stats. Now every year, you guys are going to be sitting there breaking the record. Will it diminish the accomplishments of guys like Ricky Henderson, who had to do it the harder way? Who's the other one? Larkin? And then it just kind of waters down the whole 40-40 club. Is it 40-40 or 30-30? Oh, man. No, there's too many cars. I was I had to go to the, not me, I had to go to the ER. I had to take a parent to the ER. And we drove up there, of course, because I couldn't really see how to get there any other way quickly beside that. I mean, yeah, you can play for an ambulance ride, but it wasn't really that dire. But it was dire. It was, oh shit, you're having symptoms of something terrible. Let's go ahead and get you down there. As long as the person's walking and talking. Like I said, I've seen it worse. My dad had it worse. That's when you call the ambulance, when you can't even talk to the person. Anyway, I had the fun of sitting there trying to park a car in an ER parking garage. Now my parent has a disabled sticker and a disabled, what do you call it, the disabled plaque, the one that you can hang up in the mirror. And I was thinking, okay, well, this ought to be easy to find a parking spot, not too many people using the disabled spot. I looked up, all the disabled spots were taken up. The key is, I don't know if they were taken up legitimately. You just look, there was just giant trucks, giant SUVs, all crammed in there and parked badly in the disabled spots. Maybe the police and everybody else gives them a pass because you're in an emergency situation, you don't really care about getting the fine, so you just cramming up there. But I don't believe that to be the case. This doesn't look like a bunch of people panicking to run out there. This just looks like people that didn't want to walk that far, and so they parked in the disabled spots. Meanwhile, people who legitimately needed those spots weren't getting them. And I get mad about that kind of stuff, but then I realize I'm mad about the wrong thing. When it's the fact that people have to come to the ER and find a place to park their car. It got me thinking, what's the solution for, like, what is the urban solution for? I mean, how did they do that in, like, Holland, or the Netherlands? I say Holland, the Netherlands. Do they, you know, it's hard to believe that somebody's like, oh, I'm having a heart attack, let me ride my bike to the ER. Or is it more along the lines of, so many people are healthy, they don't really go to the ER all that often, number one. Number two, there's not that much car traffic on the roads, so people can call the ambulance pretty much all, you know, the ambulance is ready and waiting and taking them down there. And number three, their healthcare system is such a way that there's a lot of factors to consider. Like, do people just walk into the ER? I'm not feeling good. Or in that case, like I'm sitting here looking at all these cars parked into the parking garages. Everything's just filled with cars. This doesn't really happen in the other countries. There's if you have to drive to the ER, there are plenty of spaces for you to park in. So I guess what I'm saying is not that many people go to the ER. When they do, they have services and spots available. Whereas here you have to drive everywhere. So you get to see the joy of going to the ER system. Like I said, the healthcare system, you have to go to the ER for pretty much everything. And like I said, having to drive everywhere and then having to park. Sorry, I'm out of it. I'm always out of it, but today I'm really out of it. I think I need to say something about this, because it looks like it's always wet. 38. The water main's leaking. The water main's always leaking. I remember at one point there was just water there all the time. There was a big puddle. I'm so tired that I'm listening to someone took all of the, I've never played Animal Crossing, but there's a character on there, I think his name KK Slider, the little dog that plays the guitar. And I'm just listening to all the songs that they had from that thing in a row. Not exactly a toe tapper, but relaxing, and I think that's kind of what I need. With some background noise. Other than shitheads with loud, raggedy cars. I might actually put lyrics to this. Is it waves crashing down? Waves crashing down. I forgot what the rest of it goes. No, it's just all right. I guess how little respect sidewalks get in Dallas. That's what that whole series is about. Dallas hates pedestrians. Paint all over the sidewalk, and there's little projects that like the utility company starts and just leaves it wide open. And I was like, you can't get away with that in the street. You say, well, not that many people use the sidewalk. It's like, well, I'm using the sidewalk, and there have been times where I stop and start putting stuff together, and I got a crowd forming behind me of people using the sidewalk. Seen my other videos where Larga is pretty much just pedestrian heavy. And it would be different if I was filming in downtown Dallas. That's what sucks about the jury duty thing. I can't go down there with the cameras. I really can't go down there with much of anything. I can't go down there with my pocket knives. I've lost a lot of pocket knives reporting for jury duty. It's annoying. One of the reasons I don't go to cowboy games anymore either. I lost I had a Swiss Army knife that was a Boy Scout knife. Bought it from the scout shop. And had that thing for years. And I was carelessly, I carried it into the stadium. This was around, in fact, this was after the September 11th attacks. I didn't think about it. The security guard was waving things. And I had the knife and I gave it to him and he just threw it in the trash. I'm like, okay. Cowboys lost that game, by the way. It was, they were playing the Giants. Was that during the Dave Campo days? I think it was. Unforgettable years. Or was it the Chan Gailey days? Can't remember. No, it was during, yeah, Quincy Carter, I think, was the quarterback. It wasn't a blowout, but it looked like the Giants were having practice in the Cowboys. I don't know what they were doing. I think them were the years where they didn't have a dominant pass rusher. It was just painful to watch as quarterbacks had all day in the pocket. That was back when they got Greg Ellis. They got Greg Ellis instead of Randy Moss. Man, was he around in 2000? I think so. But they got Randy Moss. I mean, they got Greg Ellis instead of Randy Moss because Greg Ellis was a character player. I'm sure Greg Ellis was a fine human being. He was not a great pass rusher. They got Greg Ellis from North Carolina, and then later on in another draft they got I think the guy who was on the other side of they said, well, maybe if we get the other guy that was at North Carolina, they can bring back some of that magic. And I think they got Ebenezer Ekabon. I mean, there was a lot of bad years. They got Marcus Spears from LSU. It was like a project. He was supposed to be like, I guess he was a defensive end who gained too much weight and became a tackle, and gained a little bit more weight and tried to be a nose tackle in the 3-4 system. Or I think about the stupid stuff where they tried to make Chad Henne a 3-4 nose tackle. I've watched a lot of bad Dallas Cowboys football. I have watched more bad Dallas Cowboys football than I watched good. That's saying something. Because I was... One of my first games I watched was like in 1987. So I was like, I was starting to play football. No, I started playing football, yeah. Right around the late 80s. I started watching it more. And one of my first NFL games was the Washington Redacteds versus the New York Jets. A game where the offenses were so woefully bad that the score of the entire game was 3-0. And it wasn't 3-0 because this was just a crucial battle between two tough teams. This was two teams with very anemic offenses. And I remember remember one of the highlights was they snapped the football and it hit the dude in the helmet. It hit the dude in the helmet and they missed the field goal. And that was the reason that the one team was able to just keep that 3-0 score the whole game. I was like, eh. I want to say it was the Redacteds that won 3-0. That was during the Kotite period. I think that was the Kotite period. I just remember it was really bad football. I said, man, how do people like watch this game? That was like the game that they had on TV. A game between two cellar dwellers. It was a game of the game of the week, game of the WEAK. Anyway, when I grew up in the 80s, the Cowboys sucked. They were losing games back and forth. People were talking bad about Tom Landry. There were tons of jokes about Steve Pelluer. I can't remember the other guys. What was the other guy's name? Walsh? Steve Walsh? Jim Everett? It was like a revolving door of journeyman quarterbacks that were coming through. Steve Pelluer. I just keep it. No, I just remember as a kid the stupid joke was, what do Steve Pelluer and a great television evangelist have in common? The ability to make over 100,000 people scream Jesus Christ on Sunday. Bad joke, I admit. But that was the era that I started watching the Cowboys. They were bad in the 80s. And then along come Jimmy Johnson and that Florida pipeline. Guys with chips on their shoulders with tons of talent. Dominated the league for half a decade. Until Jerry Jones opened his fat, stupid mouth. And you have all these people, and I realize that in the era of people talking about the empty suit is that you can get on TV and sound like an expert in anything and be dead wrong. But I guess if you sound convincing, people just believe that's true. Like there was one that says, the reasons you can't blame Jerry Jones for the Cowboys not winning another Super Bowl. And I was like, it was total bullshit. But it's like, well, the guy said it on TV, it must be true. It's like, no, he's just some talking head. He doesn't know anything. I haven't been down this way in a long time, but there's a lot of I didn't want to pick up any trash. I was just too tired. It's getting harder and harder. Tomorrow I got to meet up with somebody, so I'm in a hurry to get this stuff finished. I slept 8 hours, but I still feel like crap because it doesn't matter that I was up for 8 hours. I mean, I was sleeping for 8 hours. I was up for 20. I haven't eaten all day. I haven't eaten a decent meal in I guess at this point it's 28 hours. You say a decent meal. I haven't sat down and eaten anything that wasn't bigger than my hand for about 28 hours. Had some chips, a little bit of chocolate, and that's it. Anyway, yeah, they were good. The Cowboys were good for about 5 years of my lifetime. And then after 96, that's when it was over. Troy Aikman and I think it was Troy Aikman, Rock Ishmael, all that other good stuff. They had just lost a playoff game. They didn't have Michael Irvin anymore. Jay Novacek had retired. And it was just the wheels were coming off. And you see Troy Aikman looking bloodied and muddied and tired, and you just knew it was over then. Or we didn't know at the time, but it was over then. He knew it. just been a circus from the forgettable 2000s. They had Dave Campo and all those other guys, Chan Gailey and all these other guys I can't quite remember. Like, they went from having one head coach for 25 years to having a revolving door coaches, like 8 coaches in a span of well, 8 to 10 coaches in a span of 25 years. What was the breaking point for me? I want to say it was the 2007 divisional playoffs. Maybe it was whatever game they were once again playing the Giants. They hated Giants. And Patrick Creighton got open on a slant. If he had caught it, the game would have completely changed. It would have. I think the Cowboys were they up 17? No, they were up 10-3 or something like that. Anyway, he drops that pass. It was right in his hands. He was gone to that was an easy 6. And it would have had the Giants sitting there rethinking their defense and trying to figure out overcorrecting, and the Cowboys probably would have escaped with a win. Instead, he drops it. The Cowboys won and losing that one 17-10, because there was a couple of plays like that. There was that one, and then there was one where Jason Witten catches it up the middle. He gets really close to the sticks. It's like 4th and 1. And as the guy, as I called him, Gutless Wade punted with like 3 minutes left in the game. I guess he thought they were going to get the ball back and somehow change things. It was dumb. I said, you know, I can't keep doing this. They were like 12-4 that year, or they had an insane record. They were 13-3, I think. It was like world beaters. And then I just said, yeah, I can't keep doing this. It was exciting to watch them during that year. They looked like they were going to just dominate. And then they lost to the Giants. And then the Giants went on and won their 2nd Super Bowl. That was the year, I think, of the infamous Spygate. Terrell Owens was making the little joke, "Get your popcorn ready," and all that mess. I guess looking back on it now, even if the Cowboys had won that game against the Giants, I don't think they had the discipline to beat the Patriots the 2nd time. The 2nd time that they had a matchup. You see, that's the one thing that the Cowboys have never had in the times I've been watching them, is they don't really have. They never were a team that could make adjustments. But sure, there was times when Tony Romo would do these unpredictable, you know, just throw stuff out and they would come back. But they would come back against inconsistent teams. It wasn't like they completely changed strategies and got smart and said, oh, we saw what they were doing this on this one. And so, like, I guess you were a Cowboy. I was. I didn't have a starter jacket. I never bought the Cavs. I never bought any merch. But the Cowboys took a lot of my youth. That Thanksgiving game with the Thanksgiving game with the Dolphins. I had a friend that was a Dolphin fan, and he's watching the game with us. And Leon led. I guess what bugs me about the Cowboys is all those moments that I watched at the time, I was thinking, people will forget about this eventually. People hate the Cowboys so much that they never let anybody forget the stupid history of things that they've done. Leon led. What was the other one? Tony Romo dropping the thing. Of course, these are extraordinarily just bad moments. think about all the magical moments that I watched as a Cowboy fan, that you see it on YouTube from fellow Cowboy fans, but these are moments that the NFL never really like brings back. There was one where Woody Dantzler was this phenomenal, versatile football player that came out of Kansas State, I think, and he was their quarterback. All 5'11" of them. Just this dynamic, just wonderful, mobile quarterback, like in style of like Russell Wilson. He was Russell Wilson before Russell Wilson came out. But because the NFL was so rigid and stupid, they never found a use for these mobile quarterbacks until my lifetime, when people started saying, look, can we just start giving the mobile quarterbacks a chance? And now it's a mobile quarterback league. But Woody Dantzler was something else to watch if you'd ever seen him in college. And he played on Kansas State. That's probably why he was just never going to be. There was all these guys that had played on these little small colleges that said, sure, you can come over here and be a mobile quarterback. And they had coaches that were willing to experiment because there was no other way they were going to get butts in seats. Cordell Stewart comes out of Colorado and just has this phenomenal game, and the Hail Mary pass. I think they beat Nebraska that year. But anyway, Woody Dantzler's a superstar in college. He comes to the NFL. He's trying out the Dallas Cowboys. They're thinking they're going to make him a receiver. He was in the preseason. He had to find some way to sparkle and try to make the roster. And he does this phenomenal, I can't remember if it was a punt return or a kickoff return, but it was a special teams return that I think he brought it in for a touchdown or almost brought it in. And you watch him just running and he's just burning everybody. And then it's just, he almost gets pushed out and he tight ropes the sideline and gets into the end zone. It was just it was a spectacular play, and I can never find it. I thought it happened in a regular season. I was like, no, it was the preseason and he never got picked up. People shooting, I guess so. I never thought they'd be shooting over there. So I guess if I see the cop and they say, hey, did you hear shots? And I was like, yeah, it was over on, can't call 911 because I can't pinpoint a location. Okay, I heard that. Well, I guess I better call this in. Police. Okay, can you hear me? I was over here on Midway. I just passed 4100 Beechwood, and it sounds like gunshots were fired. I didn't hear any cries from help. No, it just sounds like gunshots. About 6 or Major Cross Street is Midway. Midway and Beechwood, 4100 Beechwood. Yes, Beechwood. You want me to spell that for you? See, I just heard it again. I just heard it again. No cries for help. No, just hear gunshots. Don't know where. All right. Yes, but I'm getting out of here, so. All right, thank you. People shooting? I guess so. I never thought they'd be shooting over there. So I guess if I see the cop and they say, hey, did you hear shots? And I was like, yeah, it was over on, can't call 911 because I can't pinpoint a location. Okay, I heard that. Well, I guess I better call this in. Police. Okay, can you hear me? I was over here on Midway. I just passed 4100 Beechwood, and it sounds like gunshots were fired. I didn't hear any cries from help. No, it just sounds like gunshots about 6 or... Major Cross Street is Midway. Midway and Beechwood, 4100 Beechwood. Yes, Beechwood. You want me to spell that for you? See, I heard it again. I just heard it again. No cries for help, no, just hear gunshots. Don't know where. All right. Yes, but I'm getting out of here, so. All right, thank you. Mm-hmm. You know, normally I could ignore these things because it's like, well, not ignore it, but it's like I can't really, I'm unsure because I was like, it doesn't feel like it's anywhere near me. It was like that I heard. I was like, okay. Next door they talk about that, and on one of my videos you see me walking down Durango, and the lady comes up to me and she says, do you hear gunshots? And I was like, no, not really. I think it might be coming from Linnell, because I remember they were saying at the meetings that there were sounds that sounded like they were coming from Linnell. Nope. Now there's normally a cop that patrols this area right around this time. I don't know. Anyway, I said something. You see something, say something. Shit, that's my last. I better change up on my phone. long do you think it'll take them to respond? Dallas cops? And then you got this shit going on. Never a quiet moment in Dallas. Alright. Let's call the time and weather because I don't want to accidentally call 911 again. They'll hear you slamming them when they take your video. I was like, I don't care. What is it? One of my mentors is always calling them some bad apples. There are some cops that try to cure. When I was growing up, there were quite a few. Well, the biggest problem is that everybody's so budget. You got bean counters trying to treat government services like a business. And so there's not enough of anything. There's not enough surgeons, there's not enough doctors, there's not enough nurses, there's not enough air traffic controllers, there's not enough cops, not enough teachers, there's never enough. And the answer is to raise taxes, but once you raise those taxes, you get better services. So, you know, the costs match the benefits, or the benefits match the cost. Anyway. She said, but you didn't hear anybody screaming for help. I was like, no, not really. I'm like, is that kind of a big deal? How long will it take them to respond? Will they see me? You mind getting in the car? I was like, sure. Let's go. Do you have it on video? Yes, sir, I have it on video. What's the password? Means I got to change it after the fact, but yeah. I was like, you're kind of the whole reason I'm wearing all of this get up. So to voluntarily give you that information. I told them where I was. I didn't tell them where the gunshots were coming from. At the time, I was just trying to get out of there. It said 4100 Beechwood. I don't know if it was actually coming from 4100 Beechwood or it was coming from whatever was over there. But maybe that's legal in Texas now. Dry firing into the ear at 2340. You know what it could have been, now that I think about it? I forgot that it was Lunar New Year. Those might not have been gunshots, those might have been firecrackers left over from Lunar New Year. As I say this on the record, I mean, all I heard was pop, 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 pop. Tres X. There he is. Brotherhood of the Double Cross. It's like, are you the one that called in the gunshots? It's like, I was. somebody called me Omar. not the guy that's in charge of this not the guy who thinks he's in charge of this section. I mean Omar from The Wire. I said, man, you're like Omar from The Wire. And I was like, what? He showed me footage and I was like, oh God, I hope not. Dude walking around with a sawed-off shotgun and a bulletproof vest and a trench coat. I was like, nah, I can't. I haven't gone that far. He said, people see you coming. They, oh my God, Omar's coming. Run, it's Omar. Anyway, hopefully I got all of this on foot. On I know the body cam heard something besides me talking, but I'm not really sure about the GoPro. It is so goddamn flaky. I don't know what's going on with the thing. I think the motherboard's going out. So when it started heating up, it got to like it was like 70 degrees and the sun was shining on it. It kind of died on me there. I was like, what's going on with this? I guess it overheated. I thought maybe it was the SD card, but if the SD card was gone bad, I wouldn't be able to pull any. Like it would start having glitches when I pulled the data off of it. It is, to its credit, this SanDisk SD card is working quite well. Did I bring my... I didn't bring the wire with me. I'll tell you one thing about the body cam I use is from a company called Midway. And I can see they're... The camera just vibrated when I said that. Which makes me think the Chinese are listening. So the company, I won't say its name again because I don't know, maybe I accidentally set off something, but the company, I told them, hey, my body cam went out, and I was like, is it still under warranty? If not, I want to send an RMA. And the lady's name is Wendy. She's real nice. She just said, no, that camera's out of warranty. I was like, for 40 bucks we can fix it though. I said, sure, I'll ship it in for 40 bucks. And she said, oh, you know, we don't really make that one anymore. I said, just pay the PayPal thing and we'll send you a new camera, one of the newer models. And so for 40 bucks I got a new body cam. This one's got USB Type-C. This one records in 4K video. And it has twice the memory the other one did. So I was like, man, I was like, you might have done a little bit too much, Wendy. So, you know, I give credit where credit is due. I don't know how much longer this one's gonna last. Oh man, I really don't want to go down Durango. It used to be I didn't care. I was going down, it was fine, but I get to this one section past Clemson, and it's a shithole. I mean, Durango past Linnell is a shithole. Is it a rabbit or a kitten? Whatever it was hauling ass. I can't believe I'm still listening to KK Slider. That's the other thing, is somebody's presenting this as evidence in court, and you got me talking over this thing, and then maybe you like hear KK Slider in the background, and you're just like, where did you get this footage? And I was like, from the weirdest guy. From the weirdo. Can't call myself tactical Negro. Some people think that's offensive. I was like, Negro is just Spanish for black, but I get what you're saying. Like when people say it in a certain tone, it becomes this offensive hate word, but it's just black. But I do think about something that John Heinrich Clarke was talking about, how the whole purpose of like racial classification is you're not from an area, you're just a color. Black is not a country of origin, it's just a color. But from that same token, white is not a country of origin, white is just a color. It was this tent that different European, well, not even different European cultures, it was just meant for one culture, and that was Anglo-Saxon Protestants. I don't know why people had to say white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Anglo-Saxon Protestant kind of just does the job. There's no black Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Or maybe there wasn't back when they were coming out with the original phrase. People who can trace their heritage from the Norman invasion, and then the time when Henry VIII decided to split the church. And that's the culture that they identify with. Everyone else was trash. The Irish weren't white, the Italians weren't white, the Germans weren't white. And then when these lower European ethnicities started working in cities and factories alongside people from the Middle East and Asia and Africa, suddenly it was like, well, you know, it was like, yeah, we can pay you all more money, but it's like, hey man, you really want to get paid the same thing as those people? Divide and conquer. It kind of says something about the United States that you would sell out your fellow employees for a raise, for a small pittance and a chance to call yourself part of some club that you weren't even a part of 100 years ago, or didn't exist really. So anyway, going off on a tangent. I remember there was a website back in like 2000. Yeah, 2000. Man, I used to go on a lot of forums back in the golden age of piracy. One of the forums I had on there was like, I was addicted to that. I was unemployed, reading a lot of stuff on the internet when the internet was open and free. And somebody had this one website that was just like the history of racist terms. And when you started listening to the history of it, you're like, oh, so this term is stupid. And I was like, yeah. That's kind of the whole point about racial epithets, is people who say it are really stupid. They say something and you just kind of look at it and you just roll your eyes when you find out the origin. I was like, oh, okay. But if you say it enough times in a certain tone, it becomes hurtful. Now, why is the N-word hurtful? Because it says, hey, you know, you person from the Niger River region. And the Niger is a small part of Africa. And they couldn't even be bothered to say Niger the right way, so they just, you Nigerite. I was like, but my ancestors came from Eastern Africa. It doesn't matter. The Niger runs through all of that. It's like, it does not. Anyway, Africa, an artificial construct, a hostile place of very little in navigable rivers and lots of harsh zones, tons of ethnic tribes, divided by natural barriers, speaking multiple languages, having multiple grudges, celebrating or worship or following multiple religions. In other words, watching the guy had a YouTube special. He was talking about it for like 6 hours. Africa is so diverse, but it's so a couple of videos actually. One about the history of Africa, and then one about the geography of Africa. Two different people. Africa is such a mess historically, politically, and geographically. It's a miracle that anybody could ever call themselves African. Because technically what it would be is, and even Nigeria doesn't exist. Here's Igbo land, here's Watutsi land, here's, you know, it's the land of these tribes. Africa is such a harsh environment, or such a harsh continent, it's hard to make infrastructure that you can travel through the entirety of it with no problems. Big, huge ass desert, big, huge ass impassable forests, big, huge ass mountains and hills, rough rivers, rocky, unstable coasts. And you have territory divided amongst Christians and Muslims and other. Like, it's a miracle that Nigeria is a corrupt and dysfunctional place, but it's a miracle that it exists. That after the British left, that they just didn't break up into multiple zones, and that might still happen. And I can't really say if Nigerians really think of themselves as Nigerians, or they think of, I am from this tribe in a place that was once known as Nigeria. And it's crazy to me that somebody that there are regions of the world where the distance between Dallas and Houston and other parts of the world, that distance, there are two different countries with two different languages, with like 15 different ethnicities, 5 different religions in that small region. Here, it's pretty much all Baptists and whatnot, and it's pretty much all Protestant. At one point it was mostly white. And then the dominant language is English, of course. And that's because, you know, you go from Dallas to Houston, we got rivers that'll get you there. The land is pretty forgivable to the point where you can build nice infrastructure that gets you between them. Someday, if the state of Texas ever gets its ass in gear, there'll be a high-speed rail between these two cities. But you take that same region and you put it up in somewhere in Eastern Europe, and you've got people that speak Slavic languages, people speak something other than Slavic languages, people who speak a language that speak Arabic. I was like, why is that? Well, back in 1242, the Ottoman Empire, and you're just like, okay, you stop right there. The Catholics were there for half a minute. Then the Ottomans were there for half a minute. Then the Soviets came through there. Oh, no, before that, the Nazis came through. And then the Soviets came through. And it's just... people from some land, only about 100,000 people speak this language. It's a dying language. They still hold on to this mountainous territory because no one else can really navigate it like they can. Congratulations, you are now Slavo-Romano Georgians or something, and you're just like, yeah. I was like, we don't really feel that way. We're up here in the mountains. We have to take care of our own. We only see you guys when you want money, so piss off. Well, I'm afraid we're not going to accept that answer, sir. So we're going to carpet bomb your village now. You know, Afghanistan is not really Afghanistan. The Afghan people only make up a small, maybe they make a large population, large percentage of the population, but it's not all Afghans. In some places, borders don't make any sense. I know that's supposed to be this, you know, borders are supposed to be the sign of a sophisticated and established society. Man, I just keep looking at this and this will never be fixed. I think it's coming from that house. I think that guy's sprinklers are so powerful, and then on top of that, the lawn's so sloped that the water just... I wonder what this place is going to look like in 5 years. Once again, I get the feeling I'm not going to be around much longer. Walking around here at 11 o'clock at night, 2,300 hours, as some people would say. And, well, this has gotten better. Yeah, that's one reason why I don't think I'll be around in 5 more years is I look at the amount of junk cars that are parked on the side of the street where there was nobody there before, and I'm starting to think that it's like, yeah, he fell on hard times, he got kicked out of his apartment, so he's going to be staying with us for a while. Those people. The ones that just can't seem to get it together in life. People who own more bullets, that have more bullets than sense. I always thought I'd get run over. Now I'm starting to think I'll get shot. Either way, it's a pretty Texan way to die. What's another Texan way to die? It doesn't happen very often, but rattlesnake bite sounds like a way a true Texan would go. Although I don't know if there's that many rattlesnakes anymore. Death by snake bite almost sounds like a traditional Texas way to go. You probably could die from barbecue. I'm sure there's a couple of people that die from barbecue, but not enough. It is a Texan way to go, but it's not enough people dying that way. Death by barbecue. Death by ingesting too much tequila? That's really more Tex-Mex. Acute alcohol poisoning from too much tequila. At least tell me he died from the good stuff. Oh yeah, it was definitely... There was a certain point during the Bush administration where it seemed like everybody and their brother was making tequila. Dan Aykroyd was making tequila. Ray Liotta was peddling tequila. I can't remember if Breaking Bad really made tequila or not. Breaking Bad during the Bush administration? I get a feeling that's more of a... maybe it was. It scares me to think that Breaking Bad is ancient history now. Back when I had a streaming service subscription, I was watching Better Call Saul, and they had to recreate all the stuff from the Breaking Bad era, and it had been so much time had passed that they were still using like flip phones. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, you guys have to sit there and go find a flip phone. Durango, huh? Yeah, there's some troubled houses that are on their way out. They can't pay their taxes. It's amazing that so much is going on one street. I guess if there's, like I said, if one place could have bike lanes, it definitely could be Durango. Because I'm trying to think of where Durango ends. It goes all the way to Larga. That's okay, nobody ever watches the night videos anyway. And I was like, that's not true. Maybe it's because I got a better spotlight, but it seems like I'm getting more people. Watching the night videos. Yes, the other side of Durango's a mess compared to this one. Everything's leaning. You know, I think it all started with this light.